Hi everyone, welcome to Wendy Speaks. I am your host D. First, let me just say thank you. Thank you for taking out time of your day, to be here. I know life is busy, you've got things to do, but somehow you've decided to spend some time listening to me talk today. And this means a lot to me, and I just want to say thank you. Wendy Speaks is a space for real conversations. We're going to be talking about adulthood, the parts that nobody really prepares you for. We'll be talking about work, relationship, personal growth, resilience, and how to actually build a life that makes sense instead of just reacting to whatever is happening around you. We're not going to be stating theories or trying to prove points. We are not here for motivation, even that does sound good, but it doesn't really work. We're here because life is real and it is hard, and you need someone to actually talk about it honestly. So, if you're still figuring things out, if you're still finding your footing, if you're still struggling, even if you're winning and you want to win better, then the space is for you. If you hear what resonates with you, do me a favor, like, share, follow, comment, and share it with someone that you love. Send it to that friend who needs to hear this. Post it in your group chats. You know, let's just grow together. Now let's dive into today's episode. On our last episode, we talked about superpowers we learned while growing up. We talked about grit. We talked about our communal, nature. And we talked about respect and honor. So today we're going to be having a harder conversation because it's not all good, right? Sometimes bad things happen. So we're programmed with some stuff that are actually sabotaging us as adults. And if you don't actually recognize these habits and rewrite it, or these codes and rewrite it, it will put up a ceiling on your entire life. Today we're going to be talking about bad codes that we learned while growing up. Alright, so I was in a job once. Um, and I mean the job was somehow toxic. The management was disrespectful, the pay was terrible, the work was, not very fulfilling. Every single day I'd wake up and think, this is wrong. I shouldn't be in this kind of place. There was no work life balance. It was really just work, work, work. There was no opportunity for personal growth. So it's really not, all that, right? But then it paid the bills. So did I really have a choice? But here's the thing, that wasn't me being strong, that was me being somehow programmed. I was operating from the, scarcity mentality that this job might be bad, but at least it's something. If I leave, what if I can't find something else? What if I make a mistake? And then I realized something. In my parents' generation, they had to manage a lot. They didn't have options sometimes, so they taught us to make do with what you have, right? You don't complain, don't demand better, just manage it, manage what you get. And that made sense in the context that they were in because I wasn't in that context anymore, right? I had options, I had skills, I could leave and find something better, but I was sitting there managing in quotes like a bad situation, like I was still 10 years old waiting for my parents to fix it. It took me a long time to realize that I was allowed to demand better, not demand it aggressively or disrespectfully, obviously, but demand it, clearly and unapologetically. The second thing that hit me was this one. I was in a meeting with way more experienced people, and I saw a flaw in what someone was proposing, like a real flaw, and I didn't say anything. I just sat there quiet, right? This was why? Because I was raised not to challenge authority. I had an uncle that told me multiple times that I was too inquisitive. I asked too much questions, right? Children should not be, yeah, they should be seen and not heard, right? Don't question the leaders, it's disrespectful, things like that. But I wasn't a child anymore, and the flaw I saw could have cost that person money. By staying quiet out of respect, by staying quiet out of respect, I was actually, disrespecting them. Um, because that's how I felt. I felt like me speaking up was going to be disrespecting them, and I was treating them like I couldn't, handle feedback. And I realized that these two things were happening because of something deeper. The reason why I felt that urge to stay quiet, even though I know that this flaw could, have a negative effect, right? I realized that it went deeper, and it was some form of scarcity mindset. It's a belief that my role is to fit into existing systems, not bring my full self to the table. We were right. So let me break it down. Let me break the bad code. So first, we learned the syndrome, the manage it like that syndrome. We were raised in an environment where resources were limited. If the roof leaked, you didn't demand for a new roof, you just figured it out, put a bucket under it or something. If your school didn't have good teachers, you found a way to, get information from somewhere else. If the power went out, you studied under a lantern or you studied under a lamp, right? You managed. But managing isn't the same as accepting. There's a difference. Managing is a strategy when you have no options. But if you have options and you're still managing a bad situation, that's like self-sabotage, right? So many of us are underpaying ourselves because we manage. We're staying in toxic jobs, toxic relationship because we just want to manage the situation. We're not asking for better promotions, we're not asking for better terms, we're just managing what we have. We're not taking risk, looking for better opportunities because we are just managing. Secondly, the fear of challenging authority. I think this one is very, very deep because we were taught respect, and obviously respect is good, but somewhere along the line or somewhere along the way, respect turned into some form of submission. Somewhere the message became your role is to obey and not to think. You know, a whole and in a whole lot of professional and business context, that's actually weakness. If you're on a team and you see a flaw but you didn't say anything because you're afraid of challenging the boss or challenging authority, you're not really being disrespectful, you're just being useless, plain useless. And then we also learned I need to be small to stay safe or to be safe, right? If you make things, if you demand things, if you challenge ideas, if you speak up about your value, something bad will happen, right? You'll lose the job, you offend someone important, you'll be seen as arrogant or disrespectful. But here's what I've actually learned: the only way to actually build something, something significant, is to stop being small, stop feeling small. You're bigger than you think. So how can we actually rewrite this code? The first thing to do is to recognize that respect and submission are not the same. You can be deeply respectful while still asserting your value. You can honor someone's experience while still bringing your own perspective. You can be humble and confident at the same time. Those aren't really contradictions, right? I show mad respect to people who have done things I haven't done yet. But I also know that my ideas have value, and this can both be true. Secondly, we need to banish the phrase "let me just manage it" from our vocabulary totally. When you're in a situation that is not working, you have options: fix it, or accept it fully with peace, or leave it. But managing it while secretly hating it, that's low-key torture. That's slow death. So the question isn't, can I manage this? The question is this aligned with what I want? If it's not, you have permission to do something about it. Third, start bringing your full self to your work. If you see a flaw, say it. If you have a better idea, propose it. If you are underpicked, ask for more. If you are underpriced, ask for more. Right? Do it respectfully, do it strategically, but do it anyways. Because the people who actually make it in life are the ones who are willing to be seen. not in an obnoxious way, obviously, but in a confident, competent way, right? They are willing to have a perspective and defend it. And one of the last things is start operating from abundance, from a place of abundance instead of a place of scarcity. You're not a kid anymore. Now you hold the pen. You have the skills, you have the value, you have options. The scarcity mentality was survival mode for our parents because of the time they found themselves in. We, on the other hand, we are not in survival mode anymore. We are in our building mode, right? We need to act like it. The good code gets you so far, but the bad code will keep you stuck if you let it. So you've got to recognize it, call it out, and actively and consciously choose a different way to go about it. Thank you for tuning in to Wendy Speaks today. I'll catch you on the next episode. Cheers.